Dear students, in the previous sections, we discussed the selectivity of herbicides, attributes that affect the compatibility in herbicides and the compatibility of herbicides with other agrochemicals, and also discussed the mode of action of herbicides. In these sections, let me introduce you to the concept of absorption of herbicides and also the herbicides persistence, the degradations of herbicides in plants and soil, herbicides residue and herbicide residue management. If the herbicide is to be effective on the physiological and biochemical processes of the plant, it must be absorbed by the plant and translocated in adequate quantity to the sites of action. Differential absorptions and translocations, which form the basis for herbicide selectivity and determine the tolerance and susceptibility of the plant species to the particular herbicides. Let us see one by one. First one is the herbicides absorptions. Herbicides absorption is the movement of herbicides from the surface into the plant body. It is also a process where penetration of herbicides into the plant tissues takes place. The herbicides are either applied to the soil or plant foliage. Therefore, the absorption of herbicides depends upon the method of applications and the plant part with which the chemical comes in contact. First one is the absorption of soil applied herbicides. Herbicides applied to the soil as a pre-planting or pre-emergence treatments are usually taken up by the root or shoot of the emerging seedlings. Water, salts and water-soluble herbicides are taken up by the root hairs and cortex. The herbicides molecules migrate through xylem to foliage through the transpiration stream. The herbicides are absorbed by both passive and active mechanisms as like inorganic ions. This passive entrance of herbicides may enter the plant and move primarily by one or both of these mechanisms depending upon chemical and physical properties of the molecules. Besides root, the soil applied herbicides are also absorbed by the developing shoots, seeds and also by rhizomes, tubers and other vegetative parts of the perennial weeds. In general, the shoots active herbicides like adrasins and urea herbicides kill the weeds by absorptions through shoots. In case of soil applied herbicides, the placements of herbicides in soil is important factors which govern the efficiency and selectivity of herbicides in weed control. The surface or shallow application of herbicides will ensure greater selectivity for controlling shallow rooted weeds from the deep rooted crops. Most of the herbicides applied is usually concentrated in the upper 2 to 8 cm of soil. If the herbicide is not concentrated in the zone where weeds grow, the treatment may prove ineffective or less effective. Next one is the absorption of foliage applied herbicides. In general, the foliage applied herbicide has to meet 5 major barriers before reaching the interior of individual cell for actions. These barriers are: first one is surface waxes and hair, second one is cuticle, third one is perioderm, fourth one is cell wall and fifth one is plasma lemma. The thickness and chemical quality of each barrier varies with the plant species and environmental conditions under which a plant is grown. For example, a plant growing in the shade has thin cuticle as compared to when it is grown in the open sunshines. Likewise, a plant in dryland conditions has thick cuticle to prevent moisture loss, while in wet situations its cell wall and cuticle are thin. The nature of waxes present on the leaves can also vary with the plant species and environment. Usually, the thinner barriers permit rapid absorptions of herbicides by the plant shoots. The non-polar herbicides molecules enter the cuticle and waxy barrier through their lipophilic constituents, while the polar molecules enter these through the hydrophilic channels present in the barriers. These herbicides are also absorbed by the stem. The absorption of herbicides is more through the green and succulent stem than the woody or hard stems. Trichomes or leaf hairs are also involved in the foliar absorption of herbicides. The stomatal absorption is greater through the lower surface than the upper leaf surface, as the penetration through the bark or woody plant is very difficult. And let us see the herbicides persistence. Herbicides are applied to the soil to manage weeds. While it is desirable for the chemicals to control the weeds during the season of applications, it is not desirable for them to persist and affect the subsequent crop growth. The length of the time a herbicide remains active in soil is called soil persistence or soil residual life. For some herbicides, there may be a fine line between the controlling weeds for the entire growing seasons and then planting a sensitive rotational crop. Anything that affects the disappearances or breakdown of herbicides affect persistence. Herbicides vary in their potential to persist in soil. Herbicides families that have persistent member include triazines, uracils, phenylurea, sulfonylurea, dinitroanilines, and certain plant growth regulators belonging to the pyridine family. Several factors determine the length of time herbicides persist in soil. These factors fall into three categories. First one is soil factors, second one is climatic factors, and third one is herbicidal properties. Factors from each category strongly interact with one another. Let us see one by one. First one is soil factor. Soil factors affect the herbicide's persistence include soil compositions, soil chemistry, and microbial activity. Soil compositions is a physical factor determined by the relative amount of sand, silt, and clay in the soil, as well as organic matter content. The important chemical property of the soil that can influence the herbicide persistence is pH, microbial aspects. It includes the types and abundance of the soil microorganisms present in the soil. Soil compositions affect herbicidal activity and persistence through adsorptions, leaching, and volatilizations. Generally, the soil is high in clay or organic matter or both have a greater potential for carryover because of increased binding of herbicides to the soil particles, otherwise adsorptions. But under the right circumstances, herbicides carryover can occur in any types of soil. The soil pH can also influence the persistence of some herbicides, especially the triazines and sulfonylureas family. The chemical and microbial breakdown. These are the two major ways through which the herbicides are degraded in the soil, are often slower in the higher pH soils. In particular, the chemical degradation rate of the triazines and the sulfonylurea herbicides families slow as the soil pH increases, particularly above the pH 7. In addition, in higher pH soils, the lesser amounts of these herbicides are bound to the soil particles and making more available for the plant uptake. So, in higher pH soils, the triazines and sulfonylurea herbicides persist longer and more is available for plant uptake. Low pH also can affect the persistence of both the triazines and sulfonylurea herbicides. This makes liming an acid soil important for achieving the adequate performance from these two herbicides families. Adsorption of these herbicides appears to reduce their availability to soil microorganisms. Even though adsorption is greater in lower pH soil, the herbicides can still be released several months later, becoming available for plant uptake and potentially injuring a sensitive fallow crop. Degradation process by soil microorganisms probably are the most important pathways responsible for the breakdown of herbicides. the types of microorganisms, for example, fungi, bacteria, and protozoans, and the relative numbers which determine how quickly decomposition occurs. Microorganisms record certain environmental conditions for optimal growth and utilization of any herbicides. Factors that affect microbial activity are moisture, temperature, pH, oxygen and mineral nutrients supply. Usually, a warm, well-aerated fertile soils with a neutral pH is most favorable for microbial growth and hence for herbicides breakdown. Second one is climatic factor. The climatic variables involved in the herbicides breakdown are moisture, temperature and sunlight. Herbicides degradation rates generally increases as temperature and soil moisture increases because both chemical and microbial degradations occurs. Carryover problems are always greater the year following a drought. If winter and spring conditions are wet and mild following a previously dry summer, the lower the livelihood of herbicides carryover. The third one is the herbicide's property. And herbicide's chemical properties affect its persistence. These properties include water solubility, vapor pressures, and the molecule susceptibility to the chemical or microbial alterations or degradations. Leaching is one mechanism which is responsible for herbicides dissipations. The solubility of an herbicide in water helps to determine its leaching potential. Leaching occurs when an herbicide is dissolved in water and moves down through the soil profile. Herbicides that readily leach may be carried away from the crop and weed germination zones. Herbicides leaching is determined by other factors as well. These include adsorption of herbicides by soil particles, soil physical characteristics, rainfall frequency and intensity, herbicides concentrations and time of herbicides applications. In general, the herbicides that are less soluble in water and strongly attracted to the soil particles are less likely to leach, particularly in dry years. The vapor pressures of an herbicide determines its volatility. Volatilization is a process whereby an herbicide changes from a liquid or solid to a gas. Most herbicides are relatively non-volatile under normal field use conditions. The more volatile herbicides are generally incorporated to avoid gaseous losses. Volatile herbicides include the members of the thiocarbamate family, butylite, the dinitroalanine, trifluralin and the clomaxam. An herbicide's chemical structure which dictates the way in which the herbicides will degrade in soil. Some herbicides are rapidly decomposed by microorganisms if the right kind and numbers are present and soil conditions which also favorable for their growth. But herbicides vary greatly in the susceptible to microbial decompositions. For example, the chemical structures of 2,4-D allow microbes quickly to detoxify the molecule into inactive metabolites, whereas atrazine is not as prone to microbial attack, hence degradation is very slow. Some herbicides are prone to chemical reactions. The members of sulfonyl urea herbicides family are degraded through chemical hydrolysis as well as through microbial process. Although it is less sensitive than microbes to fluctuations in soil physical characteristics and often soil moisture. The rate of chemical reactions also will vary depending on the surrounding soil environment. Several families of herbicides are degraded both through the chemical and through microbial pathways. Others less prone to the chemical breakdown are lost primarily through the microbial alterations. How we can avoid the herbicides persistence in the subsequent crops? There are several ways to avoid the herbicides carryover problem. First one is we check the recrop statement on the herbicides label and do not plant a sensitive crop period to the specified time. Second one is we have to always apply the correct rate of any herbicides for our specific soil type and weed problem. This means applying the lowest rate of chemical constituents with obtaining the desired effect. The higher rates of more persistent products certainly carry a greater risk of injury to subsequent crops. Accurate acreage determinations, chemical measurement, proper sprayer calibrations, and uniform applications are essential for avoiding misapplications problems. Several management considerations can also influence the herbicide's persistence. One is application timing. In general, the herbicide treatments applied later in the growing seasons have a greater potential for influencing subsequent crop growth than earlier applications. The early pre-planting timing may reduce the risk of carryover, and foliar applications may not carry the same risk as applications to bare soil if significant live vegetation is present at the time of applications. Another one is the method of applications. Some herbicides must be incorporated while incorporation is option for others. Herbicide residues should be lower between the banded herbicide zones regardless of tillage systems, or lower throughout the field following a primary tillage operations. The amount of tillage following herbicide applications can affect persistence. Tillage encourages the herbicide decompositions indirectly through increased microbial and chemical breakdown. Minimum till or no till tend to leave a greater concentration of herbicides near the surface zone. Persistent herbicides present in this concentrated zone may affect the shallow planted susceptible crops. If a potential herbicide carryover problem exists and soil erosion is not a concern, moldboard ploughing can help to dilute the herbicides. Herbicides combinations may reduce the risk of carryover problem. Application rates can sometimes be reduced by tank mixing two or more herbicides rather than making single ingredient applications. At the same time, combining herbicides can broaden the weed control spectrum. However, there is a need to avoid applying two or more herbicides with a longer residual life during the same seasons. Finally, the use of tolerant rotational crops or varieties helps to minimize the carryover problems. Crop rotations is often dictated by economics, but important differences exist between the crops and even among varieties. In general, the smaller seeded crops or varieties are more susceptible to injury from persistent herbicides than larger seeded species. Therefore, it is good to ask local seed suppliers about varietal differences that might affect the livelihood of serious crop injury. Some soybean varieties are more sensitive than others to the triazine herbicides and not to be used with these herbicides or when triazine carryover is a concern. Another one is the maize varieties. The maize varieties are available that possess greater tolerance to the emulsifier. If emulsifier carryover is a concern, certain varieties can be planted with a minimal risk of herbicides injury. If herbicide residues are suspected in the particular field, a chemical analysis or bioassay can help to determine if harmful levels are present. Chemical analysis can be expensive and not all the herbicides can be analyzed, so a bioassay may be more feasible. Either can help you to determine if herbicide residues are exist and if the tolerant crop or variety should be planted in a particular area. In summary, the first step for avoiding herbicide persistent problem is to choose the less persistent product. Check the herbicides label for recrop statement before selecting the any crop. For all the herbicides, use the appropriate rate and application timings, selective tillage, herbicides combinations and the tolerant crops and varieties to help to reduce the risk of carryover crop injury. Wise herbicides use ensure the continued availability of these important weed management tools for the future. Let us see the herbicides degradations in plants and soil. Herbicides degrade over time. How long a herbicide's persistence is depend on several factors including light, temperature and soil moisture. Herbicides dissipate through several pathways including photodegradations, chemical degradations, microbial degradations, leaching and volatilizations. Let us see one by one. First one is photodegradations. Photodegradations occurs when ultraviolet light breaks chemical bonds of the herbicide's active ingredient. The secondary molecules resulting from the cleavage of the parent molecules are generally less effective in providing weed control. Second one is microbial degradations, which occurs when soil microorganisms use the herbicides as a food source. Virtually all the herbicides are organic compounds comprised mostly of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogens and sulfur. These compounds are the food source for microorganisms. When the same chemical is applied repeatedly, microorganisms that preferentially feed on this chemical increases in number. This consumes the chemicals and thus reducing its efficacy and longevity of control. This is particularly important with pre-emergence herbicides which are designed to have a longevity in soil. Third one is chemical degradations. Chemical degradations occurs when a non-biological chemical reactions cleave the herbicide's active ingredient into non-active secondary molecules. The most common form of chemical degradation is hydrolysis. Fourth one is leaching. The leaching of pre-emergent herbicide is minimal. Products used in the nursery productions have low solubility and are adsorbed tightly to the soil particles. Applying irrigations to maintain the adequate soil moisture will accelerate the biological activity and thus accelerate the herbicide's degradations. However, using irrigations to leach the herbicides from soil will not work and is a waste of water and time. Out of the pre-emergent herbicides labeled for nursery crops, trifluralin is most subjected to volatilizations. These are the major pathways through which applied herbicides are degraded in soil. Let us see the herbicides residue. Herbicides breakdown requires sufficient time under the adequate moisture and soil temperatures to support the growth of microbes that degraded herbicides molecules. Some herbicides are broken down quickly or are bounded tightly to the soil, preventing them from causing problems to the crops that are planted in the following seasons. Other herbicides take more time to decay and as a result persistence into the seasons following the year they were applied. These residues can injure sensitive crops that are seeded in following seasons. Herbicides that have restricted recropping options are considered residual herbicides. Occasionally, weather conditions can result in greater than expected herbicide residue remaining in the soil and may call the normal recropping recommendations into doubt. Many companies with residual herbicides have modified their labels to take unusually dry events into considerations and further restrict the crop considered safe to the seed following the residual herbicides. A drought conditions where the soil surface dries to less than the permanent wilting point causes microbial activity and the resulting herbicides breakdown to stop for a larger portion of the seasons. This results in the greater than expected risk of injury and yield loss from the herbicide's residue. Very wet conditions or cool conditions can also result in the slowing of herbicides breakdown. Oxygens required by the aerobic microbes that break down most herbicide is not available in saturated soils, resulting in the stopping or slowing of breakdown of many herbicides in soil. Some herbicides such as group 3 herbicides are broken down at the accelerated rate under oxygen limiting conditions and can result in a loss of weed control activity in saturated areas. In the year 2004, there was ample rainfall, so that moisture would not have been a limiting factor for herbicides breakdown. Unfortunately, the soil temperatures were very cold, which can also slow microbial growth, which in turn slow the herbicides breakdown. It is the unknown whether ongoing moist but cool conditions will provide as much breakdown potential as normal summer conditions with warm temperature interspersed with periodical rainfall. There is some evidence to suggest that microbial activity can be greater under the wet or dry cycles than constant moisture conditions. As a result, the producer should be conservative when deciding which crop to grow in the year following residual herbicides applications when the environmental conditions are not conducive to breakdown, and stick with those crops that are recommended on the product. It is also important for producer to keep good herbicides application record for each field to prevent carryover concern on some highly residual product. These products may have multi-year restrictions, and climatic conditions occurring in any of the year from applications to seeding of the sensitive crop can result in unexpected carryover and potential crop damage. How we can manage this residue? Restrict the crop following the residual herbicides to those that are recommended on the label of the residue herbicides. These are also listed on the herbicides product description page in the Guide to Crop Protections, as well as the recropping chart in the back of the chapter on herbicides. Growing crops that fall outside these recommendations generally increases the risk of injury, yield loss, and or delayed maturity. Occasionally, because of extremely poor climatic conditions for herbicides breakdown during the year of applications, even recommended recropping options can experience some risk of injury. This injury would not be expected under normal growing season conditions in the year that the residual herbicides was applied, or subsequent years for long-term residual product. An unhealthy crop is less likely than the healthy crop to be able to endure the stress that herbicides residue can add. Therefore, to reduce the risk of injury or yield losses due to greater than the expected herbicides residue, take measures to maximize the crop health in the field with a history of residual herbicides. Measures such as shallow seeding with good seed to soil contact, adequate fertility including the use of started phosphate fertilizers, and the planting the healthiest seed available will maximize the chance of producing a healthy crop. It can hold its own against the unexpected herbicides residue stress. Soil testing is recommended to determine if there are any micro or macronutrient deficiency that may be amplified by residual herbicide stress. The combination of the in-crop and residual herbicides effect on the crop could result in injury in situations where either herbicides influence alone would not. Therefore, always stick to those crops that are recommended to be seeded following a particular herbicides. Now, let us conclude these sections. Today, in these sections, we have discussed the herbicides absorption, herbicides persistence, and the degradation of herbicides in plant and soil. We also discussed the herbicides residue and its management. In nutshell, the herbicides applied to the soil as pre-planting or pre-emergence treatments are usually taken up by the root or shoot of the emerging seedlings. Water, salt, and water-soluble herbicides are taken up by the root hairs and cortex. The herbicides molecule migrate through xylem to foliage through the transpiration stream. An unhealthy crop is less likely than the healthy crop to be able to endure the stress that herbicides residue can add. Therefore, to reduce the risk of injury or yield losses due to the greater than the expected herbicides residue, take measures to maximize the crop health in field with a history of herbicide residue.